this might be my favorite name of a chapter, the Mega Flagshippers. Why don't you tell us about that, Gary?
Yeah, it's like you are the whole time you're trying to come up with names and titles that would kind of properly represent, the voice or the crest, and that was the one. So yeah, mega flagshippers, mega. Of course, we're talking about the mega church, right? And also flagshippers. So what do I mean by that? I think a lot of Christian leaders, a lot of Christians pay attention to what's happening, with the megachurch. I think that by the sheer size of these church bodies, they're studied, they're watched. People kind of keep a little bit of a pulse with them. And so, the icon that we used was, like a ship, kind of like the lead ship of their armada, okay, of their armada. So mega flagshippers, kind of like that flagship, that's going ahead of everyone else. Now, am I saying that smaller churches need to, think that they have to be sizable or mega to have impact? No, I'm not saying any of that. But what I am saying is that I think they are a major crest. I think there are high level leaders who are there. I think there's a lot of high level people and the teams that are working there. The brain trust that's happening there is pretty significant. In fact, I'm kind of hoping that chapter ends up spurring them onto greater creativity and innovation for the church, for all the church to benefit from. And so I do have a kind of a positive spin towards it, but of course there's critique, and I start off with critique. I think these churches can be maligned, and they're very much built around the attractional model. And so I say they're championing church service attraction, and so does that mean that they think exclusively that way? No, are they not, wanting to be missional? Certainly they do. But it is a model, and it's because it's a model of the way, you think about reaching, really in a way, large numbers of believers, as well as, trying to be a place that is inviting and a great entry point for people out in the culture, in the community, who are not yet believers. There's a big imprint that's there, and there's a lot to look at, and it's interesting to observe it, to critique it, to talk about it, to talk about leadership in that picture. I actually hope that chapter again would spur those leaders on, and I think it's a beneficial and a really good chapter for others as well. Uh, I didn't write any chapter in the book that I didn't think would not benefit everybody. And so I think it's highly relevant. I think even if you're a smaller church, which the majority of churches in North America are smaller, under 100, so 150. I mean, we really, the numbers are, the majority of Christians are in smaller churches too. So these, even though, mega churches have grown, the percentage of them versus the number of other churches is still small. And so it's a very interesting conversation. I have experience with working in the mega church. 5 years at Sandals Church in Riverside. I remember we were running around 7,000. I planted churches that were smaller, and so I've kind of been on both sides. I've seen both sides. And also some of the rose-colored glasses that you kind of get with, being in a large church, or thinking everything is, Shangri-La here, everything's so perfect, everything's so great, everything's so beautiful. You kind of, I'm way past that, and get to a place where you're looking at actually what's kind of happening within that discipleship picture. What is the church developing? I have a lot of questions about that. I actually think we need innovation in a much bigger and broader areas, and so that's what the writing is going to get into. And so I hope people really dive into that chapter. I think there's a lot for anybody, and just pray that God really uses that to spur us forward for the kingdom in the years ahead. Looking forward to seeing some of the younger generation leaders rise up into those churches as well. I think there can be some really good that happens from that, with some values that maybe are a little broader, a little more empowering. And every leader's kind of faced with the challenges of that. So not easily done, but I think a lot of good stuff to chew on in that chapter.